All right. You're hungry. All right. Just getting set up. Give me just a second, guys. All right. How does it feel to wake up earlier in the morning? You guys are lucky the first whole week you didn't have to wake up as early. All right. This is actually not even your cohort. Okay. All right. Let's get started. Good to see you guys. I hope you had a good weekend. I missed all your lovely faces and all of our fun discussions. Um, Today and this week, we're going to be focusing more on your final assignment. So a lot of the classes are going to be structured around building on your final assignment and whatever problem you've chosen. Okay, so we're going to be talking about project definition and problem analysis. Our main learning targets for today are going to be algorithmic thinking, problem solving, and critical thinking. I know you guys had a uh, maybe a little bit more of a difficult reading. Did you find it okay? Was it challenging to read? What did you guys think? It was okay? Okay. On human-centered design. So let's start with your glossary. Are there any words we should define before we go forward? Look at that. It's getting all fleshed out. Tinker. Tinker means to like, um, let's see what Google says. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hmm. It's trying to like fix something or figure out how something works. So if I'm tinkering with like a toy car, it's like I'm taking it apart, I'm looking at the pieces, I'm trying to see how it works. To repair or take something apart, spending a lot of time on it. What else? What from the reading? Surely there's some difficult words in the reading. Constant. Okay, here we go. Tangible. Tangible, it basically just means if you can touch or, well, I guess it doesn't necessarily mean. Yeah, if you can touch it is basically what tangible means. But you can also say it in the sense of um, if there's like a tangible benefit. So if I created some solution and then implemented it, and if I said there's a tangible benefit, that means there's like a material benefit, something that actually happened. Does that make sense? But tangible just means can be touched, uh, can be felt. All right. Constellation is like a collection of something. Usually it literally means a collection of stars. So you guys know like the astrology, and also astronomy, constellations. I'm a Scorpio. Um, just so you guys know, I don't know if you guys know your astrological stuff. But it can also be used in language just to mean like a collection of something in the same way that a constellation is a collection of stars. You can use it a little bit more poetically to mean a collection of things. Ascertain just means to make certain or like to understand. Understand. I'm ascertaining the difference between these two things means I'm figuring it out, I'm understanding it. These are big words. Ambiguity is just unclearness. Today in class, we're going to clarify the ambiguity in human-centered design. We're going to clarify anything that is ambiguous or unclear. Okay. A prototype. What is a prototype? Do you guys know? Does anybody know and can tell us? That's a good word, especially in this context. Yeah, the first product. It's almost like a first draft of something, but it's like a physical first draft. So if I'm making the prototype for an app, it's my first draft of that app, especially so that I can try it and then see if there's anything wrong. Like I can test my prototype to see where it's not working, and then I can make changes on it. So that's like super important when you're thinking about what? When you're thinking about testing and doing something again to see if it works. What is this word that I'm trying to say that starts with an I? And it means when you test something over and over again to see where it's going wrong, and then you make changes. And the word is iteration. Physical used in iteration. All right. And then feasible just means, is it reasonably possible? This is also an important word. So when we're talking about solutions, right, and we're talking about design, we're talking about human-centered design today. You want to think about feasible solutions, things that are actually possible. We can actually make them happen. Um, Another word for this that you might have seen in your like assignments or stuff like that is actionable. They don't really necessarily mean the same thing. Feasible means, is it possible? Actionable means, um, can I act on it? Is it ready to be acted on? But those are both really important words when you're thinking about developing solutions and even claims and arguments. We don't want to be making arguments just to make arguments. We want to be creating solutions that can actually be implemented into the real world and can actually make a difference. Cool? Okay, awesome. That was good. Good words. Um, can somebody tell me what human-centered design means? Human-centered design. I'm gonna start off the week by picking on Sang-Yun Kim, just because I think it'll be funny.
Yeah. I think human-centered design is uh, considering a person's situation or person situation. Yeah.
When doing what?
Uh, Making product
When
and
creating, yeah,
creating.
creating a product or a solution to some problem. Anybody want to add anything to that? Tell me more. There's more parts of human-centered design, right? That you guys read in the reading. Considering a person's situation. Okay. I'm going to give you this quote that I think was in one of the readings, which I think sums it up really nicely. Being a human-centered designer is about believing that as long as you stay grounded in what you've learned from people, your team can arrive at new solution that the world needs. Oop. So human-centered design is about creating solutions that people will actually use, that are feasible, that are not ambiguous, right? That people will actually use and implement and actually will make their lives better. And this philosophy basically believes that the best way to create solutions that the world needs is by focusing on what you've learned from people, the people who have actually experienced the problem that you're trying to solve. You're centering those humans when you're designing solutions. We're going to try that out today. All right. So before we go forward, let's do a quick prep poll. Just take 1 minute. You're going to paste your pre-class work into the poll. So just take like 1, 2 minutes, copy and paste it into the chat, or not the chat, the poll. You have about 1 minute left. You don't need to type anything. Just copy and paste whatever reflection you did for your pre-class work. And then we'll talk about it. Did you guys do your pre-class work? Yes? All right, I only have like less than half of you have submitted this poll. Okay, there we go. I know it's a lot of reading, but make sure you're doing your pre-class work, okay? It's really important. So you're ready for class. Okay, be like 10 more seconds. Still missing some of you in this poll. All right, I'm going to end the poll. All right, let's hear some reflections. What did people say? What are your personal strengths and how you contribute to your group project? Let's hear from Donghyun Lee. Go ahead.
My personal strength is responsible for an assigned role in the assignment. Also, I can read the new message immediately and locate my time to the assignment as long as possible. So I'm good at communicating with group members.
Awesome. Those are really important skills, right? Communication and being ready to give your time to the assignment that the assignment needs. Excellent. What about other people? What are some other skills that we feel like we're already good at? Let's hear from Jungbom Lee. What did you say?
My personal strength is leadership. I can lead team members based on leadership.
All right, so Jungbom Lee said leadership. Leadership's also a really great skill to have. It helps you work with all kinds of different people. And a good leader, there's many, many different. Actually, let's see some answers in the chat. What do you guys think makes a good leader in a group? What makes a good leader? Respect, consideration of your team members' opinions, motivation, not overlooking all kinds of possibilities, considering all members, making sure they participate, taking ownership in the group, embracing group members, communicating, responsibilities, converging opinions. Right, so it sounds like there's a lot of taking responsibility here and also making sure that all the group members feel like their opinions matter and putting them all together so that the group has one direction. Right? Awesome. I love to see it. And I want you guys to know that these are all things that apply to all of you. Just because you're not the leader doesn't mean it's time for you to not take responsibility or not consider the opinions of your fellow peers. You guys are all leaders in education, in whatever field you're trying to excel in. So make sure that you're supporting each other and accepting the different ideas that your friends are throwing out. Just hear each other out. And who knows? You might change your mind. That's like the best part of college, is you'll think you really believe in something, and then somebody will give you a different opinion. It'll make you go, And that's the best part. All right, let's hear from one more person, and then we're going to move forward. One more reflection. What do you guys think you're already super good at that helps your team members? Communication, leadership. Sungyeon Yu, what about you?
I think I'm good at analyzing resources. I can process large amounts of information quickly and identify keywords in them.
Awesome. Sungyeon Yu's a good researcher. Seems like she'd be a good person to have on your team. In fact, I think the three people we heard from would make a great team because you need a good balanced set of roles in your team, right? So make sure you're paying attention to your strengths as well as your weaknesses when you're working in these group projects and learn from each other. We're all good at different things. I'm sure between the lot of you, there are experts in all kinds of things. So learn from each other, and it's all about the process. All right. Let's get into our first activity. I'm going to play a video. Oh, actually, I don't think it will play the sound. Let me see. Share. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio. I want you guys to, as you're watching the video, individually take notes. So if that's pen and paper or on your computer or whatever, but make sure you're taking notes while we're watching this video together. All right? All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio.
This is the first Apple computer mouse. It came with Apple's $10,000 Lisa computer, and it was designed by a product design consulting firm that would eventually become known as IDEO. The assignment was straightforward. They had to take the computer mouse, a $400 device at the time, and bring it down to under $35, make it mass producible and reliable. And above all, it needed to be simple.
We control Lisa by pointing to these images on the screen with this unique item called a mouse.
Fast forward about 30 years, and IDEO doesn't really create products anymore. They've transitioned to designing networks and experiences, things like Los Angeles' voting system and the Red Cross's method for finding donors, even entire schools. So what does making a computer mouse have to do with creating a school system from scratch? It turns out, quite a lot.
The world we live in is one where really the complex things are the things that are mostly broken, not the simple things. We have lots of great products, lots of beautiful products, lots of products we can use every day. Everything from furniture to tableware to consumer electronics. They're mostly pretty good, right? And yes, there's opportunity to do better and do more, but I'm interested in the things that don't work very well and the things that you can impact society with, and they're mostly the more complex things.
Back in 1971, a designer named Victor Papanek wrote a book called Design for the Real World. The premise was pretty simple. Creators could take some of the same design strategies from the creation of industrial products and use them to tackle problems like pollution and overcrowding and food shortages. By 2001, IDEO had done just that, pivoting from products to real-world experiences. But the design steps? Tim Brown says they stay just about the same.
The first piece is observing the world in order to ask an interesting question, right? And you can observe the world in lots of different ways. When we talk about human-centered design, we're really talking about observing the way humans live their lives and asking interesting questions about, hey, why does somebody do this and not that? Or why is somebody struggling with this problem? Why is it hard for somebody to open that, why are they struggling to open that jam jar lid? Well, so maybe I could redesign the jam jar lid, right? Or maybe I could give them a tool to help them, right? So why is this happening? So the first step is that looking at the world and coming up with a good question.
For making a mouse, that means watching how people use computers and observing what they want and what they don't. For designing a school, that meant spending a month in Peru, meeting with students and parents, teachers, investors, government and business leaders to address needs like academic planning, modular classroom space, accessible technology, and affordable tuition.
The next step is taking all the insights you have about those questions and starting to imagine ideas, like here's what I could do, here's what I might imagine doing better or differently. So that's what we often call ideation or idea making.
Then comes the fun part. You test it out.
Right at the beginning of the process, that might be a really simple cardboard model or a quick sketch, or if it's digital, it might be a quick digital simulation or something. And you try it out with people.
Sometimes those drafts can be pretty rough. The first prototype for the mouse was a roll-on deodorant stick and a butter dish from a Palo Alto Walgreens.
And you test it and say, and it doesn't work. Okay, so I need to rethink my idea, and I do it again, right? And this is where the iteration comes in, right? You learn from the prototype, you realize what's not working, or maybe it's a crummy idea, you have to go back and find a new idea again. And you go through that loop over and over again, asking the question, having ideas, prototyping, learning, and until you get to something that truly meets somebody's needs or a set of people's needs. Now, the last bit of the process, which arguably happens in that iteration, also is the storytelling piece, right? Because always you're trying to explain to people why your idea is interesting.
Macintosh, the computer for the rest of us.
I think what you need to design a complex system is not one brain, you need lots of brains. You need lots of brains with different perspectives, different creative contributions that they make, working together to get to an outcome that is literally rich enough and sophisticated enough to be able to behave like a system instead of being like an object.
All right. Let's take some. I hope you took some good notes. Let's talk about this a little bit. So, somebody tell me in their own words, why human-centered design is important. Let's hear from Chae-Yun-shin.
Usually in our lives, there are very complex products and they are needed to be simple. So we should observe human lives and create new ideas to improve our lives.
Awesome. So it's important to observe human lives and create ideas to make complex things simple. Awesome. Right? This is like basically the heart of human-centered design. Not just design, right? Not just making something to make something, but making something so humans can use them, so that humans can benefit or be happier or be or make their lives easier in some way. So the video, he talked about 4 steps. Did anybody note them down? Can somebody tell me the 4 steps? Soyun Song, tell me the 4 steps that he talked about when it comes to human-centered design.
First, observing.
Mm-hmm.
Second, planning.
Planning.
Third, prototype. And test.
Test. I think the second one, they might have said ideation. But that goes hand in hand with planning. Good. So observe your surroundings. And then what's also important here is ask interesting questions. So when you guys are doing your assignments and you've already done the deciding on a problem that you want to address, right? That was this part. You observe the world around you and you asked an interesting question. The second part is coming up with ideas and solutions for it. It's the brainstorming part. It's your framework. This is your problem statement. Then you're using your framework, your 5 whys, your fishbone, your affinity diagram, your Pareto analysis to break down that idea and see what potential solutions you could come up with. And then, I'm not sure if you guys are going to actually do this in your final project. It'd be really cool if someone could make a prototype of their solution. But then you're going to make some draft of how your solution's going to work. In our case, we're going to make an algorithm, right? You're going to tell me step by step how it's going to work. And then you're going to test it. And then you're going to iterate on it, see where it goes wrong, see what you can fix, see how you can make it better, right? This is all basically what you guys have been doing. You've been designing solutions, right? But how is this different from human-centered design? What makes human-centered design different? Who can tell me? Taemin Kim, what do you think?
I think human-centered design is different because of iteration or group working. Because human-centered design,
What do we think?
human-centered design is experience a lot of failure, but by group working and iteration, you can pre-class work or reading the writing about the pre-class work, there it said that iteration and group working can finally reach to the success. So I thought that was special.
Okay, iteration and group work can lead to success. I think this is true, but I also think this is just true of like designing, right? If I was like design a solution, you could definitely experience failure. You can definitely iterate on it and do some group work, and that can lead to success. What makes human-centered design different from that? What makes it special? Shion-san, what do you think?
I think gain ideas from other people who were in trouble is the point of human-centered design.
Okay, awesome. That's one really important piece of it, right? Is to take inspiration from people who are actually experiencing the issue. So there's a difference between being able to design a solution. For example, some of you guys wrote about climate change and the issues regarding climate change in your previous collaboratories, right? There's a difference between theoretically designing an issue for climate change and designing an issue for climate change that you have experienced or your friends have experienced. For example, if you have friends who had to leave their homes due to flooding because of increased hurricanes due to climate change, and you speak to your friend about that issue, they're going to have a different perspective than you probably are because you didn't feel the pain of that personally in the same way that they did. They will probably have different insights about what would be valuable to them when you need to fix, housing in flood-prone areas than you might. So that's a great point. We should take inspiration from people who have experienced the issue. And one more thing that I want to point out is, okay, so inspiration for people who have experienced the issues so that the solution actually helps them. Helps them. Not some hypothetical person in your mind. We're not generally helping humans, but some specific set of people who you understand and have confirmed with. Something else that he said in the video, which I think is really important, is that your solution should behave like a system, not an object. What does that mean? Somebody tell me what that means. Your solution should behave like a system, not an object. Jiwoo, go ahead.
It means the solution can be applied not only once, but in every situation.
So it can be applied multiple times, maybe at multiple scales. What else though? It means more than that. That's true. Solution should behave like a system, not an object. What happens if you have a system with multiple pieces that don't fit? What happens to the system? Soyun Kim, what do you think? What happens in a system with pieces that don't fit? Does the system work? Soyun Kim. Anybody want to help her out? What do we think? Does the system work well if it have pieces that don't fit together? Donghyun Lee, go ahead.
We can get a feedback from the failure and repeat all the process again.
So yes, you could repeat the process again, but if the pieces don't work, if they don't fit, they don't work together. If you have a bunch of gears that don't fit together, it's not going to move the system, right? When you're designing a solution, it should be aware of what already exists in the system. If I'm going to implement, housing that is better suited for areas that might have floods, I can't just build something and expect people to use it, right? I have to be aware of what already exists. Is it reasonable to expect people to buy entirely new houses if they're going to continue to live in that area? Probably not. If I lived there, would I want to buy a new house just because it's better prone to flooding or better prepared for flooding? No, I would prefer something that could attach to the house that already exists. All my stuff is there. I've lived there for years, right? I can't just design a new house and expect a lot of people to be okay with that solution and to adapt that solution. I have to be aware of the system. So maybe I would build something that modifies the house that already exists, the houses that already exist, or modifies the area in that neighborhood to prevent flooding. I need to make a solution that will work within the system, not just a random object that can't be implemented, that won't work with the stuff that's already working there. Does that kind of make sense a little bit? This is where your research comes in. This is where, if you're trying to find out what's true, go find out. Go ask people. That's the best way to find out, right? Do your research and talk to people. All right, let's get into our activity now. Ooh. Who wants to play the video again? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the activity together, and I need you to pay attention because you're going to go into breakouts and then do the same activity with a different issue again. Okay? So we're going to do a practice together. So we're going to design a solution to improve campus study spaces for college students during peak times. Okay? Super relevant to you guys, right? We're centering the design on students who actually experience this issue. So, how might we help students locate available study spaces during exam periods in a way that reduces stress and optimizes time? Did everybody get that? I'll give you a second to read it again. I know it's a long sentence. We're going to create something that helps students locate available study spaces during exam periods so that we can reduce their stress and optimize their time. So this is already a design question. I think in your breakouts, it might not be actually a design question. Let's see. Oh, looks like it's already a design question. So don't worry too much about this step. Frame the problem as a design question. It's already framed. State the ultimate impact that your solution aims to have. So what are we trying to actually, what's like the big goal? What is the impact we're trying to create? Usok Park, what do you think? What is the impact we're trying to create with our solution? Who are we trying to help? It's right here. Who are we trying to help? And what are we trying to help them with? All right, who can help them out? Ji, will go ahead.
If there are many people in studying environment, there can be noises that can be annoying to students, so reducing it can be solution.
So reducing unwanted noises can be the solution. Okay, so this is the ultimate impact that your solution aims to have. So think about it this way. This is an impact for sure. But when it's asking the ultimate impact, you're trying to think of your why. Why am I doing this? So like, how might we help students locate available study spaces? Why am I doing this? It's probably because I care about students and I want them to not be stressed and have a good experience studying for exams. Usually your ultimate impact has something to do with like caring about people and their well-being. And then how are we going to do that? Well, their well-being would be made better by doing things like this, by reducing unwanted noises, by maybe making more spaces available, by doing other things that reduce stress. Those are your other, like, your secondary solutions. But your ultimate impact, again, human-centered design, is because we care about the well-being of people, that it's usually something around that. And you can find it by asking yourself, why? Yeah? Okay. And then don't worry too much about this. Focus a little bit more over here. So brainstorm potential solutions to the problem. What are some things that we could do? Let's see some answers in the chat. What are some potential solutions? So there's reducing the density of people in studying environment. You guys already know what I'm going to say to this. I'm going to say how. How are we reducing the density of people in studying environments? What can we do? What are solutions? Okay, so Donghyun Lee says contracting study rooms outside the university to have more available spaces. Excellent. Clear solution. It's actionable, right? We can do this. We can act on this solution. And it's also feasible. It's entirely possible to make this happen, right? It would just require some resources. Good solution. What else? Making students rest space. Yeah, so we can create spaces for rest and relaxation. That would reduce their stress, right? What kind of spaces? I don't know. Where would they be? More specificity, more specificity. Make more distance between seats. What do you mean by that, Jiwoo? Tell me more.
It means the make distance between the students who are studying in their seats.
Oh, okay. So they don't hear each other as much?
Yes, like this.
Okay. So make more distance between seats. So that students maybe have more privacy and um, aren't bothered or like I guess I should say disturbed when they're studying. Good. So another option could also be instead of contracting rooms outside of the university, Soheen says maybe we could just make more study rooms for the students. I want to point out something here. So if we compare these two solutions, which one is more feasible? Based on what you guys know about Hanyang, right? Because I haven't been, well, actually I have been to Hanyang, but I don't really know what the rooms look like, right? I don't know what the buildings look like. So if I'm designing a solution, how would I know which one's more feasible? I would probably just ask you guys, right? I would center your experience when I'm designing this solution. So Donghyun Lee says the first one is more feasible. That's because Donghyun Lee proposed that solution. So who what do other people think? Which one do we think is more feasible? Okay, we got one thumbs up for that. Okay, we think contracting rooms is more feasible in general. Maybe because I don't know, you guys tell me, is there not a lot of extra rooms in Hanyang? Is that the reason? You would have to construct new spaces. Maybe that would take more resources, more time, things like that. So I want you to think further down in your solutions. Don't just think about, this is a solution. Think about what's feasible, what's actionable. How much resources would it take? How much time would it take? Whose approval do you need to implement the solution? First one is more specific, so it can be easier to realize. Yeah, definitely, right? You know exactly what you need to do by reading the first one. Great. And then what you can do is you can take this, okay, so I'm looking at this. When you guys do this activity, I actually want you to do number 2 first. Okay? So tell me a little bit about the context and constraints of your group. Do we know what we mean by constraints? Do you guys know what constraints are? Yeah? Okay. So what are what are the limits in this situation? Let's see some answers in the chat. What are your constraints? Finances. So you have limited money, right? You don't have infinite money when you're creating the solution. What else? What else are your constraints? You have limited what? Limited space. Definitely. You don't have infinite land to create this solution. You have limited space. What else? It takes time, so you have limited time probably, right? You can't use the room when students are in it. If school's in session, then maybe you shouldn't have construction noises going on during classes, right? So there's probably a specific window of time that you could build this if you're going to build something. So you are constrained by time. What else? Can you just do whatever you want? Can you just devise a solution and then build it immediately? Do you have to ask anyone's permission? What else are you limited by? If it's not an extra exam period, the extra rooms aren't useful. Okay. There can be someone who's opposed to it, right? So you have limited authority. You're constrained by what you can do. You have to get permission if you want to build something, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so think about these. These are your constraints. You also have, do you guys know what context is? No? Maybe? Context is like the details of your situation. The details of your situation or circumstance. What important information should I know as someone who has not experienced being a student at Hanyang University that would change how I created a solution? I'm going to say that again. What important information should I know about your situation, your circumstance, your experience that needs to be taken into consideration when I'm creating a solution? I'll give you one example to start you guys off. I'm not Korean, right? I don't know how you guys study, what your preferences are, what the cultural context is. So if I'm designing a solution for you guys, I should be aware of your cultural context. Do you guys tend to study in public spaces? Is that a common thing in your country? I don't know. I can't implement that solution if I'm not aware of that. So what are other things? What are other contextual things that I should keep in mind if I'm designing a solution? You guys think of any? Yeah, excellent. The number of students. Awesome. So maybe what the geography of the area is. Excellent. Anything else? Yep. Student dispositions. Let's use a smaller word. Student feelings on, let's say, not feelings. Student preferences on what they want a study space to have. Why is there a sad face? Okay, there's an accident. The distance between the buildings. Available expense. I would put that more as a constraint. So constraint is something that you're like limited by. Context, you're not necessarily limited by it. It's just important information that you should know. What kind of complaints that student have? Yeah, so student preferences and wants, and maybe what they don't like about the current situation of study spaces, right? Excellent. Great job. So I want you guys to identify these things first before you start creating solutions, right? Because this stuff is going to change what you come up with. It is going to restrict the number of solutions that will actually become feasible and actionable. Yeah? Yes? Okay. Da-da-da-da. And then what you're going to do is revisit your original design question. And then based on the stuff you learned, the stuff you discovered, you're going to tweak the question. You're basically going to iterate based on feedback to better address the constraints and the context. To better address the constraints and the context. How might we help students locate available study spaces during exam periods in a way that reduces stress and optimizes time? Basically, you're going to do what you guys have been doing in previous classes and in your collaboratories. You're going to make it more narrow based on the new information that we've collected. So maybe this would look like, how might we help Hanyang freshmen, right? More specific, more specific. Locate available study spaces. Maybe we're going to tackle only on campus. Maybe it turns out the president of Hanyang was like, actually, we can't give you any money. You have to figure this out on your own. Good luck. So locate available study spaces within Hanyang campus during exam period in a way that reduces stress, optimizes time. Maybe this needs to happen before your exams happen, so whatever that date is. Or maybe this needs to accommodate however many students you learn that it needs to accommodate. All of the research that you do here will help you narrow down your problem statement here. And I want you guys to pay special attention to this because in your collaboratories, what I noticed is that when you guys are going through this process, you're doing all the steps right, but you're not connecting them. So when you guys found a problem and then you did your framework, right? Maybe you chose 5 whys, and so you asked why 5 times, you got some more specific information. The problem statement that you wrote after it is still general. You didn't incorporate the information that you discovered in your framework process into your problem statement to make it more specific like this. That's like the power of this process, is like each step builds on each other. So make sure you incorporate the stuff that you learned here into your iteration of the problem statement. And then you would do that even further if you were to write a claim. So then the claim that you would write would answer this question. You would make an argument. You would say something like, we should help Hanyang freshmen create more available study spaces by, and then you would actually use one of the solutions that you decided on. Even more specific, right? Even more narrow. Don't tell me again in general, because the point of this was to get you to think of a more specific solution, something that's even more actionable, and something that you can tell me the step-by-step process to solving. So maybe this would look like study spaces by, I don't know, making better use of empty lecture halls during exam season. Okay, something like that. But try to be as specific as possible, because when you create an algorithm for this and tell me the process, the more specific this is, the more clear your algorithm will be. And we won't have those questions of like, should I put peanut butter on the top of the bread? Or where is the top of the bread? And we won't have to answer all of those specific questions because you will already have narrowed it down here. Makes sense? All right. I'm going to send you into breakouts now. You're going to do essentially the same thing, but you're going to have a different problem that you're going to solve. So I want to see iteration on problem statements. I want to see constraints that you've identified, context that you've identified, and I want you to remember you're designing solutions for the people involved. So if you can find evidence for what the people involved actually feel about their situation, do that. Cool? All right. Oh, you guys are Foxtrot, right? You're not Echo. All right. As always, please click only on your link. If you have questions, press the Ask for Help button, and I will come to the rescue. You will have about 20 minutes. I'll give you an update on the time as we go. All right. Good luck. I'm excited to see your solutions. Time to save the world. Let's do it. All right. Going. Hey Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
All right. The timer has been set. All right, so the students are in their breakouts now. And I see them starting to open up the documents. Okay, so that's good. There's about 3 or 4 in each, which is a good sign that they are not in the wrong document. And they are probably going to start reading and then filling this out. I've given them 20 minutes, so I'll probably start filling in their participation grades while it's fresh on my mind. And then let them do their thing. So I'm gonna turn my camera off and then I will return in a couple of minutes after I do some checking out of what's next to come and then their participation grades. All right. So it looks like we had a little technical glitch. So the scenarios actually aren't different for the breakout, and they're supposed to be, but that's okay. We're just going to go with it. I'm going to send a message to the students right now and let them know that they should just continue to do the activity and try to go into more depth than we did in class together. They're going to have about 5 minutes left. I'll let them know right now. On the breakouts. All right, welcome back. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back, everybody. I apologize for the mistake on our part. I know I said you're going to go into breakouts and have a different question, but you had the same question, but that's okay. We're going to roll with it. And I'm excited to see if you guys found any new solutions than the ones that we talked about. All right, group one. Tell us how you built on the discussion that we had before we went into breakouts. Did you add anything new?
Yeah, I can explain that.
Okay, go ahead. I don't know who's talking, but go ahead.
Me?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, did he freeze for you guys too? Can you guys hear Hyungsuk-님? No? Oh, more technical problems are happening today. It's okay. It's a Monday. Would anybody else from group one like to share? Or if
Yes.
you're okay, go ahead.
First, we identify our group's problem, the lack of studying spaces of Hanyang University students. Second, how might we help students locate available study spaces during exam periods in a way that reduces stress and optimizes time? And third, our solution's ultimate impact is Hanyang University students gain more pleasant spaces for studying. They can be more productive and they can get good grades.
Okay, cool. Just for the sake of time, so that every group gets to present, tell us only what is new from the breakout. Tell us something that you guys found in your breakout that's new from before. What did you add? Soyun-sung, go ahead.
We add online space and outdoor studying space.
Okay, awesome. Keep going.
And a new system.
Okay, awesome. So maybe we could use online spaces, a new seating system. Tell me more about this.
Yes. Per semesters, we choose one person to one seat.
Okay, where? One person for one seat where?
In the studying room.
Okay. So that, tell me how it works. Okay, let's do this. So this is a question to everybody else. What are some potential problems that they might run into with this solution? If each student is assigned a single seat in the study area, and I'm assuming they'll have like rotating times, is that correct? Okay.
They can get their own studying space so they can reduce their stress and they can because it's their own space to study, so they can full focus to their study.
So maybe are you saying that they would not use this?
Like if one person per if there's a admission system for the seating, so that seat is only for that student. So the student can full focus to to his study because it's their own space.
Okay, so each student is getting their own space to study with an assigned time slot to study. Rest of the class, everybody who is not in group one, what are some potential ways that this might not go to plan? What are some counter arguments? What do we think? You can put them in the chat. I feel like you guys are braver in the chat, so we'll do it that way for today because it's Monday. Who will address the situation? Shion-san, tell me more.
If their system we're gonna implement, there's would be someone to deal with the situation to distribute the seat for students. I think it will need some labor force, manpower. Yeah.
So Shion-san is asking who is in charge of assigning the time slots and who is going to monitor them to make sure that students are switching out during when their time slot is over. What do you think, Group 1? What do you have to say to that? Defend yourselves. Yeah, go ahead, Hyung-Suk-님.
I think school staff can regulating the system. Yeah.
Okay, you think school staff. Did you ask school staff if they're excited about doing extra work?
Or we can make some groups of students who want to contribute the other Hanyang University students to study well.
Okay, so you're
Volunteer.
asking student volunteers?
Yeah.
Would you volunteer to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, show of hands. Raise your hand if you would volunteer to monitor this study space during exam season when you have exams to study for. We got 1, 2, maybe 1.5 people. Okay, so it's okay, right? This is the process. This is the problem-solving process. So when you're designing for the people who are designing for, ask them. Ask the students around you, because those are the people you're designing for. Would you guys do this? If they would not volunteer, as I am suspecting they will not volunteer, because you guys have your own exams, right? Maybe your priority would be your exams. You can ask your TA. Ask your TA later. He's probably right there somewhere, right? Edward? Ask Edward, is he excited about doing extra work to monitor these study spaces during exam season? I don't know. But you won't know till you ask. So this is good, right? So you started somewhere, you have a proposed solutions. Practice this when you're doing your final assignments too. Ask your peers. Ask your peers for feedback. So if your group had asked Shion-son would have been like, you should think about this, guys. And then very quickly, you would have had to update your solution, right? To consider these counter arguments. Great. Awesome. Let's look at another group. Group 2. Did you have a different solution that you proposed?
We make a solution of introducing reservation system in using the study environment.
Okay, so how are people going to reserve slots?
Maybe on online or both of online and offline.
Maybe online or you already know where this is going. So class, what do we think? What potential problems might arise with an online reservation system for study spaces? What do we think? Soyeon-jung, can you think of anything?
The competition about the seat is big.
Okay, so there might be opinions. People might have preferences about which seat that they want, and those might be not available if they're reserved too fast. They might not like their designated seats, server load because of too many students. Okay, so how would you address this? Group 2, someone who is not Jiwoo, somebody new. Let's hear from, oh, Soyeon-jung, you're in group 2, huh? So you critiqued your own solution just now, right? Yeah, Soyeon-jung, you're in group 2? Yeah. So you guys can do this within your own groups too. This does not need to be, you don't need to ask a different group for feedback. You can role play devil's advocate. Do you guys know what devil's advocate is? Yeah? No? So you know what the devil is, right? The devil is like, I feel like I shouldn't Google that in the middle of class, but like, a bad guy. Okay, and you're advocating as if you were the bad guy, as if you were the devil. So you are going to role play being an opponent of your own group and think from that perspective and then share your opinions. Kind of how Soyeon-jung just did. She's thinking from, if I'm not in this group, what are some possible holes that I can poke in their argument? Where are they going to go wrong? I'm going to find them because she's pretending that she's not on the same team. And that is a strategy that you guys can use to start identifying weaknesses in your solutions so that you can iterate on them before you submit. Before you bring them to me, I want you to go through this process 2-3 times. Before you submit your collaboratories, go through this process 2-3 times. And then the product that you're going to end up submitting is going to be much better because you're not going to hear that first round of feedback from me. You've already heard it from your friends. And then whatever feedback that I'm going to give is probably going to be either deeper or I'm going to be like, great job. I can't think of anything else. Right? Okay, let's quickly hear from group 3. Did you have a different solution? Where's your solution? Group 3. So-hee-in. What was your solution?
The solution is that implementing the reservation system per time.
Okay, so you guys also said the same thing. Let's see if group 4 said something different. Group 4, what did you say?
One of our solution was diversifying study spaces, such as private room or collaboratory room, so that students can study according to their different preferences.
Okay, cool. How would you do that? Like, what would that look like? If you were going to tell me the process of actually making this happen, what would that look like? Let's hear from...
There are some empty classrooms, so we can use that space for making private room or collaboratory room.
Okay, awesome. So what potential, again, class, what potential downsides do we see? Can we anticipate? Anticipate just means like think about before it happens. Can we think of some potential ways that this solution might run into problems? What do we think? Let's hear from Shihunan, even though you're in this group.
The potential problem would be that um, when we contract with the local cafe or like study cafe like that, and the local cafe may be too crowded for people to just visit, and there might be some students who oppose to this, and that's the main constraint.
Okay, so you're talking about a different potential solution, right? You're talking about this
Yes.
one? Okay. Okay. So again, teams, make sure we're on the same page, right? About which solution we're choosing. When you're narrowing down your problem solution or problem statement and your proposed solutions for your final assignments, I know there's going to be a lot of solutions that you come up with. Pick one. Pick one, because I want to know in depth, in as much depth as possible, how we can actually make this happen. So if you start picking 2, 3 different ones, you're not going to be able to go in depth as much. I know that realistically, if you're trying to solve a big problem like this, you're probably going to use more than one solution, right? You're not just going to pick one solution and think, this is the only thing that's going to work and it's going to work 100%. You can mention that in your reports. That's a great thing to mention, actually. In the section where you have your counter arguments and your context, maybe you can say, this problem needs multiple solutions, but we want to focus on this solution and how it will be effective for this specific area. And this is our argument. Okay, that's how you're going to get the strongest argument you can, while also recognizing that your argument is not going to solve every single problem. But that's okay, so long as you mention that in your paper and you recognize that. And so the reader is going to recognize, oh, they're actually not trying to solve all the problems. They're just trying to solve this specific thing. Let me critique them only in this specific thing and not worry about asking their solution to fix everything. Cool? Okay, let's quickly take a look at group 5 because I feel bad if we leave them out. Okay, group 5, tell us one solution that you picked that hasn't been mentioned yet. Go ahead, Donghyun Lee.
Using vacant classrooms in Hanyang University.
Using breakout classrooms? Like online or in person?
Huh?
Online? Online breakouts?
We chose third solution.
Oh, vacant. Okay, I'm so sorry. Use vacant classrooms in Hanyang University. What are some potential problems they might run into? Seolyeon Kim. Oh, I can't hear you. Can you guys hear her? No. Talk a little bit louder. I still can't hear her. Okay, put your comment in the chat, okay? So we can see it. But this is great. So they have, oh, I guess they have it right here. It requires manpower like a student council. So it will require people, right? It will require a resource, which is probably limited. So again, here you run into feasibility questions. You need permission from the administration. That's another constraint, right? So it'll be hard. It's not impossible, but it's good that they've identified what they need. Then you can go one step further and defend this by saying, we know that there are limited resources and it would be difficult to get permission from the office. But you could say something like, I don't know, Yonsei University did this and it proved effective. So maybe Hanyang should do the same thing. You can find evidence like that to support your argument and counter the counterclaim, right? And then looks like they iterated. How might we help Hanyang students utilize another spaces or study spaces to avoid crowded study rooms while spending less extra budget on campus? Good. You guys are getting closer. This is a better problem statement, okay? More and more and more narrow as you can. Okay. Awesome job. Great work. Thank you for, as we say, rolling with the punches, going with the technical mistakes. I'm really happy that you guys still worked on it as much as you could and came up with new stuff. That's really, really awesome. Okay. One last question before we go into talking about your collaboratory for today. How do you guys think you would have come up with different solutions if you didn't design this with humans in mind? If you were just doing design thinking and not human design thinking, human-centered design thinking, I'm going to say all of this again because I did not make a good sentence. What would happen to this solution if it wasn't human-centered design? How would you design your solution differently? What do you guys think? Kau Park, what about you? We haven't heard from you today.
No focus on
Nope.
no focus on global community.
So this solution didn't have a focus on global community? Is that what you're saying?
If use no human decide.
Okay, so if we didn't think of human-centered design, we wouldn't have focused on global community. Okay, what else? Which is important, right? Because we need to make sure that our solutions can be implemented for other people too, that they can scale. So it's important to think about the impact that they're going to have. What else? Taemin Kim.
If we use just design, maybe we couldn't consider the We will consider what students need, and we would only consider the school's situation.
Awesome. So maybe we wouldn't properly consider all of the agents and their perspective, right? Let's add that to our big list of takeaways. So, without human-centered design, we might not take into consideration the multiple perspectives that are important to solve the problem. Anything else? Would anybody else like to add something to our takeaways? How are you going to use this in your life going forward? How are you going to use human-centered design thinking in your lives going forward? Hyung-suk-lim, what do you think?
I think we can be more considerate while we use this human-centered design in real life,
How?
because we can think or consider others' feelings or others' think in any situations around us.
Okay, so maybe it'll help us be more considerate about how people experience problems differently. And I want you to keep that in mind when you're also doing your final projects, right? Different people will have a different experience of the same problem. So when you're creating solutions, figure out what the different experiences are so that your solution works for all of them, right? Remember, we're making something that's a system, not just an object. It can't just work for one person in one situation. It needs to work within the system, within the world, within your community to be effective. Awesome. Great work. So today we talked about algorithmic thinking, problem solving, critical thinking. Today in your collaboratory, what you're going to be doing is you're going to start working more seriously on your final projects, and you're going to implement the feedback that you received, which you haven't received yet. I will grade it during lunch, and then hopefully by collaboratory time, you will have the feedback on your final projects. But you're going to implement that feedback and then iterate on your problem statement. And then hopefully integrate some of what you learned today about human-centered design, okay? And you guys are also going to be doing some more research. So when you're doing research, please, please, please make sure you're using reliable resources. Some of your collaboratories, your answers, you had resources. Like you named the resource that you got the information from. That was excellent. Keep doing that. I really liked seeing that. Some of you guys went above and beyond and cited your sources professionally in like MLA format. That was super awesome to see. So play around with that, explore that if that's something that will be helpful for you guys once you actually start college, because that's probably what will be required of you to properly cite your sources. And also pay attention to what kind of sources you're using. Not just a general website, but if you're using a scientific study, a research paper that's peer reviewed, these are sources that are going to be of higher quality. So they will be more trustworthy if you use them to support your claim. And also make sure that when you provide this evidence, you're tying the evidence to the reasoning. Don't just give me random facts, because I will not know what to do with that, right? I love that you can find facts, but you have to tell me why you're bringing up that fact. If it's not relevant to your claim, if it's not relevant to your reasoning, take it out of your paper, because that means it's distracting. It's unnecessary information, and you want to be clear, right? We serve the God of clarity. Okay. All right. Do you guys have any other questions on your assignment right now? I'll also be available in office hours again Today I will be available starting at 2:45, so not at 2 in office hours. And then your 5-minute check-ins will start at 3. So in that time, please, please, please go back. I've left you guys a lot of feedback on your collaboratories. Go back and read them, understand them. If you have questions, come talk to me. Read your feedback, talk to your group about your feedback, and see what you could have done differently, maybe, because all of that feedback is basically what you need to implement for your final assignment. That's the stuff that's going to get you to the 4-level applications, okay? I've written you guys paragraphs with all of my love and so much time on my weekend, so please, please, please go read the feedback that I've left you. Okay? All right, I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. Have a great day. I'll see you during collaboratory time, okay? Bye.